Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Out and about on the 2020 Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sport once again. I've been riding this bike for the last week or so, been getting to know the bike, and in this video what I'm going to tell you are the top 5 things that I love about the motorcycle. So if you like the Honda Africa Twin, or if you're interested in the bike, stick around and stay tuned, this video's for you. Alright, so a bit of a grungy old day to be out on a motorcycle ride. I'm recording this in middle of March. Weather's starting to warm up a little bit, as you can see. We've got some daffodils around, so spring is starting to spring, and it's pleasantly warm actually. It's unusually about I think it's 16 degrees or something. It's warmer than it should be for this time of year, so actually it's much better, much nicer on the bike than it looks. Anyway, I digress. So I've been riding the Africa Twin Adventure Sport, as I say, for the last week or so. Thank you very much indeed to Honda UK for lending me the bike, so I'll give it a try. This is the one with the dual clutch transmission, so effectively an automatic gearbox, which is quite a novelty that I'm getting used to. Lots of changes on the bike. I won't bore you with the spec and the changes and so on. Go and check out my video. I'll put a link in the corner somewhere, or is it that one? Never quite sure. For my first impressions review, and in that I tell you how the bike feels when you ride and what the spec is and all that kind of stuff. So go and check that out first. And since I made that video, I've also had the chance to ride the bike a bit more, so I'm getting to understand a bit more about it. So, to my top 5 things I love about the bike then. And the first one isn't very sexy sounding, but it is something I really appreciate, because I rode the original Adventure Sport about probably 18 months ago, and it was a very, very tall bike indeed. I was on tippy toe when I stopped. This one though, look, my feet flat on the deck, either side. Absolutely no problem at all getting my feet on the ground, and this is with the standard seat on, albeit at its low seat height. Now I'm 5'8", so I'm not a big fella, and I can manhandle this bike around, well, ride it absolutely fine with no issue whatsoever in terms of getting my feet on the deck when I stop. The old bike had to kind of plan where I was going to put my foot down, look for potholes, and it always felt ponderous. I was right on my tiptoes. Even if you're shorter than me, have no fear, because you can actually get a low seat version, and if you're a tall fella, you can get a high seat version as well. So Honda have really catered for everybody on this one, so I really like that about the bike, and that's number 5 on my list of the top 5 things. I told you it wasn't sexy, but the low and accessible seat height is something that I very much appreciate, so thank you Honda for doing that. Hope you can see me okay. I've got my usual 2 cameras set up, rather handily. My GoPro 7 is stuck on the screen there. Not so handily is it's wobbling around like a good one, so it's going to be a real good test of its anti-shake capabilities. So if you can see me on this view clearly, it just shows how good that stability doodah is on the Hero 8. It's a shame the mic isn't up to the same goodness as the stabilisation, is all I can say, because I've had no end of problems with the mic on that Hero 8, which is why I stick with this, my trusty Hero 4, for when I'm vlogging. Anyway, I'm digressing once again to number 4 on my list of the top 5 things I love about the Africa Twin Adventure Sport. Number 4 is something that's very important to me. Again, it might sound trivial to you, but I think if we're honest, it's something that we all take great or pay great attention to when we buy a new bike or think about getting a new bike. And that is the way that this bike sounds and the way it looks. It's just a lovely looking bit of kit. Thank you, sir. Some people say it's the best looking adventure bike, better than say the GS or the big KTMs. I'm not so sure. I quite like the look of the GS actually, but I like the look of this one as well. And it's sort of a dead heat for me which one I prefer. In the main, I'm not a fan of adventure bikes that pretend to be sort of Dakar machines, and this one's got a little bit about that. But again, in this latest incarnation, the 2020, done a really lovely job. The paint job looks nice in this blue, red, white and blue scheme, and the front end with the new lights and so on looks a bit sleeker. I think it looks really nice. And then allied to that, the sound. This big old twin on here sounds beautiful, especially when you wind it up. I mean, I haven't had a chance to do that on this ride yet, and it's a pretty damp day, so I possibly won't be able to, but yeah, it does sound lovely. As hopefully you might be able to hear a little bit in a minute. Hopefully you heard that. And the incredibly witchcraft-like gear changes. Let's go up here. Oh, it's great to be out on the bike again. This one's got a really good heated grips. Hoping you can hear me okay with the visor up. Got the big screen on here, and it feels like I'm in pretty calm air, but it is a windy day. I've got a bit of a crosswind, so maybe I'll put it down. We'll see how we go. Alright, enough chatting then, on to number 3 on my list, the top 5 things I love about the bike. So this is one of those things that could split opinion a bit, and I sort of blow hot and cold with this, but number 3 on my list are the things that I love about the bike, in particular this version of it, the 2020, is its comprehensive electronics suite and fit. Honda have really thrown everything at this. It's got this new TFT screen, which I really like. It's very configurable. There's all sorts of stuff you can go on there. I haven't even been able to scratch the surface of that in the time that I've had the bike. That I love. Not only the way that's presented, but all the other electronics that come with the bike. It's got a 6-axis IMU, lean angle sensitive traction control, lean angle sensitive ABS, engine braking control. Basically, it's got all the bells and whistles, this, together with things like the DTC. It's the electronics package on this is just incredible. So if you're going to go down the route of having a bike that has a lot of electronics, you won't get better than this. This is, I think, pretty much class leading as far as electronics on any bike is concerned. So that's number 3 on my list, the electronics package on the Africa Twin. I say it may split opinion because some day, or when I blow hot and cold, it's because some days I just like simple bikes. Today I'm liking complicated electronic bikes, and this is one of those. Okay, we get into the serious stuff on my top 5 list now. I think we're up to number 2. Number 2 on my list, just demonstrated actually without realising it, and that is this DCT gearbox. I've mentioned it a couple of times already. DCT stands for dual clutch transmission. It's a bit of witchcraft, but basically it's there are 2 clutches on the bike, as dual clutch would imply, and one sort of engages the next gear ready while you're still in the previous gear, and that has the effect of having very smooth changes from one to the other. The thing that really impresses me on this bike is actually the down change. If I just wind off the throttle and brake, it's now changing down the box, and it's just imperceptible. And if I now wind it up, up she goes, and again, super smooth. Just a slight change in engine note tells me that the gear has changed, but otherwise you wouldn't know. It's really nice. Now I've got this in sport mode 2. There are 3 levels of sport if you like, and I find the DCT is just perfect in that mode. If it's in just normal drive, it can be a little bit clunky. But other than that, in this sport mode, as I say, if I have one of these bikes, I just leave it in sport mode. It's just beautiful. Hello, road ahead closed. Diversion. I'm going into uncharted waters then for this ride. Never been down here in my life. How hard could it be? Or have I? I don't know. Perhaps I have. This is the village. I think this is Hyde Heath, which isn't too far from Grove, isn't it? Can't tell you anything about it other than its name, and it's not too far from Great Bissenden. One of the good things about this style of bike, the big old adventure bikes, is that you can pretty much take them anywhere, and whatever you find you can handle. So this road, terrible road surface, potholes, bumps, lots of overbanding, suspension on this just soaks it all up. If I was so inclined and I saw a legal track, I could ride the thing off road. I'm not going to do that though. I'm not going to do that for a couple of reasons, and those are: 1, it's not my bike. If I drop it and break it, I have to pay for it. So that's 1. 2, it's a really muddy, murky day, and I'm not very good at off-roading. And 3, there isn't anywhere to go off-road here anyway. Here in the southeast of England, it's really difficult to find legal green lanes. So green lane is going to have to wait till the summer for me and my little Honda CRF, I think. Alrighty, just while we're wending our way, wondering where this diversion is going to take me, we've got to number 1 on my list of the top 5 things I love about the bike. And again, this is, I'm afraid, this isn't a very sexy thing. Perhaps I should have made looks and sound number 1. That's a bit more sexy, if that's the right word. I struggle with the word sexy when you're talking about motorcycles, so can we forget I ever said that? Block that out of your mind. It's a lovely bike. Alright, okay, so number 1 on my list, and it's not very interesting, shall we say, but it is a great thing, is the price of the bike. Given that amazing electronics package, the DCT, everything, this bike is fitted with everything you can possibly throw at it, it still comes in at about 14 grand. Now that is a lot of money, I'm not saying it isn't, and not everyone can afford to spend 14 grand on a new motorcycle. But when you compare this to some of its competition, for example the BMW GS, you could argue is its competition. I know it's got a slightly bigger engine, but if you spec that out in a similar way, you'll be looking at closer to 18 grand, another 4 grand on top. Aha, this looks good. As it spatters out further on up the road, I think. So yeah, the question is then, is this bike 4 grand, you know, or rather, is the GS worth £4 more than this? Well, that's something you have to decide for yourself, but certainly from a comfort point of view, this feels very comfortable. Could do with a slightly softer seat, but other than that, the riding position is very reminiscent of a GS actually. The electronics fit is excellent on here, probably surpasses the GS. The TFT screen is very good on here, but I still prefer the one on the GS, to be fair. That's the best I've come across. But yeah, it's definitely not a £4 gap, so that's number one on my list. The top 5 things I love about this bike, and that's its keen pricing. I think Honda have done a really good job of getting this pitch just right. And I think they're going to sell quite a lot of these. If it's a bike that appeals to you, those looks and everything else about it, then it's really good value. You can't really argue with that. Right then, let's do a little overtake here. The bike really does hum along as well. Slow down now, it's coming to 40. By which I mean there's no lack of go in it. It's not got headline grabbing horsepower figures, but the bike absolutely goes fine. Alright, so I'm coming to where I was heading, just coming into these Chesham Boys. I'm heading up to Amersham for a few chores. But that's the top 5 things I love about the Africa Twin Adventure Sport. Hope you found that of some interest. There's going to be more videos on my channel about this very bike. I'm not done with it yet. Got it for a few more days yet, and at the end of my period with it, I'm going to bring you my lessons learned video where I tell you not only the good things, the things I love about the bike, I may have found of some more by then, but also the things that I don't like about the bike. No bike is perfect, is it? And there are a few little things on this bike that would be a bit of a niggle, and maybe more than that if I actually own one, so I'll save those for my lessons learned video. So if you're interested in the bike, stick around, stay tuned. That's coming up soon. Alright, thank you very much for watching. If this is the first time you've been to my channel, you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you along next time. And I look forward to speaking to you then. Until then, this has been the Listen and Fly. Cheerio. Oh, I nearly forgot. People always ask me when I do these sort of videos when you can see me actually on the bike, you know, what my gloves or what jacket was that you're wearing, whatever. So I meant to tell you the kit that I'm wearing to save me answering all those comments. So from top to bottom, I've got my showy helmet on. I think it's a GTX, this one. I've done a review on it. Brilliant helmet. It's my go-to helmet of choice for vlogging. That's why you see it quite a lot on these videos, obviously. The jacket I'm wearing is from a company called Blauer. I think they're Italian. Amazing jacket. I'll put links below, by the way, to all this stuff. This is called the Blauer HT Winter Pull, I believe. I'm a massive fan of these things. If you've been watching my tour in Thailand, and if you saw the one in Slovenia before, you would have seen me wearing a Blauer summer jacket. I was so impressed with that. I got myself the winter version. That's what this is. Just feels like you're wearing a sleeping bag. It's just a really warm bit of kit to wear. I like it, and it's really comfy as well. So that's the Blauer HT Winter Pull. Gloves I'm wearing, these are here. They're from a company called Racer, which I think may be French. I'm not sure. These particular gloves are called their Halewood gloves. And again, you can get them from Sports Bike Shop. Again, I'll pop a link below. Sports Bike Shop don't pay me or sponsor me, but the links below, by the way, are what's called affiliate links. So if you click on them and you end up buying something, I do get a little kickback. It doesn't cost any more to you, but you are helping the channel if you go that route. So that's why it's Sports Bike Shop below the links. Anyway, yeah, these gloves are called they're from Racer and they're called Halewood. Again, links below. Moving down, what next? Oh, jeans. The jeans are from Oxford. You've seen me wear these a lot. These are their original approved jeans. I've talked about them before. They're one of my 2 favourite pairs of jeans. Just because they've got very special fabric that Oxford have produced. That means they're single layer. They haven't got all that really thick yellow padding inside, yet they're still abrasion resistant and proper biking jeans with all the right approvals. These ones are in a black slim fit, and I just find them very comfortable. They look good if you're, you know, just out and about, as well as if you're on the bike. So those are the jeans. Again, links below to those. Nearly done. And then last but not least, these boots. These have seen better days, as you can see. I've been wearing these a lot the last couple of years. They're from TCX, and they're called their Baja GTX boots. I tend to wear them if I'm doing anything off-roady on bikes or whatever, or if I'm riding my GS Basically, when I'm on an adventure bike, I tend to wear my TCX Baja boots. That's what they look like. They're Gore-Tex. They're really warm in winter, and they're good and protective, as you can see. So that's what that is. All right, there we go. That's the rundown of the kit. It's important to have the right kit. I thought you'd tell what mine was. Save me writing all those comments. All right, see you again soon. Cheers.